My friend, I want to share with you today what my guides and angels have told me about Ascension. I had a question about our religious metaphors, where Ascension is fairly well defined as going to heaven, but is going to heaven dependent on earning heaven? You know, in the Catholic religion, it was sort of a bartering system to get into heaven. You had to not sin, but also say a certain amount of prayers and perform certain actions. I mean, in Islam, and no offense to any practitioners, but to kill an enemy will get you heaven. So there's a lot of different ideas about going to heaven. I want to share what I believe it is from my own sources. Ascension is heaven. Ascension is a trip back to God. Ascension is being enfolded for what you think of as eternities and goodness and love and beauty and light and the myriad of the most positive energy expressions of God. Our selfhood becomes less and less important as the energy that we carry returns to God. Ultimately, the soul, the God energy that we have in a particular tonal way that makes it possible for us to intercept the divine and pass it along to others, will merge completely. And that is the end of self-knowingness. And yes, you have escaped the limitations of physical. We have escaped the dance of evil. And we've escaped the density of the earth plane. Now, escape is a word that we don't like because it gives a negative connotation to the earth life experience. A better word is released. You have released yourself. The journey back to God for you and energy is filled with such wonderful possibilities. One of the possibilities is experiencing the unity that is the primary hindrance of our manifesting here. Because for a personality to manifest in energy, we must constantly separate. We must constantly become divided until we reach what seems to be a bottomless pit of loneliness. And we are so separated and so divided from one another. And we seem very far from God. We seem very far from the unity that is God. What they're saying is on the way back to God, it's an increasing feeling of unity. So any religious metaphor that stresses unity is expressing our ultimate ascension. So the one word that expresses God more than any other is the word unity. Of course, the flip side of this unity is the lack of self-knowingness. And we're not feeling the lack of self-knowingness in unity. We just are united. And so that's the duality of the unity, is the loss of self-knowingness, which does occur when we're united with God. And yes, this does seem like a reward. What we would wish to de-emphasize is the reward aspect of ascension. We would like to emphasize ascension as a focus for people in life, for it is in life that ascension is learned of, ascension is decided on. We would like to emphasize ascension orientation in life instead of the seemingly reward aspect of ascension once you're out of life. If ascension is to be known, it is known about in life. It is like a beacon, a call of a trumpet that is deep within yourself that you remain focused on. And this gives you a certain objectivity about your life and the lives of others. Because in a very singular way, You are striving for your ascension by becoming aware of it. No one can talk anyone else into ascension. It's not for us to know each other's paths or to walk each other's paths. We each must walk our own. But if ascension is a desire, lifetime over lifetime, eventually that turning back to God is the most compelling focus that a person can have. And you can see this in people who are not necessarily religious, but you can see it in their priorities in life. What is and isn't important in their life. But we can look at ascension, perhaps in terms of our third death. From your point of view of being in a body, your first death was a transition of leaving the body. The second transition is the tunnel transition, which is moving away from the proximity of the earth into the healing levels. And our third transition is when our prior life is completely sealed. And then we move to the city of light, or the human species consciousness pool, to redirect or choose another life experience, or we move to the threshold of choice, which is beyond that, to make the choice to ascend. It is important, however, to emphasize that at this threshold of choice, if ascension is chosen, it is an irrevocable transit out of manifestation. And they called it physical, but they said by physical, we mean all the energy dimensions associated with physical, no matter how intangible some of them seem to you. There's no turning back. There's no coming back. So these are big steps, big decisions, big choices. And that's why it's much more of a choice level, called the threshold of choice, much more of a choice level than the others, because you are irrevocable. Yeah, it's a hard word to say. Irrevocably committed to unifying your soul back with God. What earns you ascension is the knowledge of ascension. It is the conscious orientation toward ascension, more than the individual acts that fulfill and complete your God-given intent. I am going to be doing a meditation on completion and purpose fairly soon. And actual ascension can take place at any point after death. Some people ascend very quickly after death. But ascension can take place after a very prolonged period near the earth, after the tunnel transition, which is always necessary. And the assimilation can happen very quickly in the healing levels. The city of light, or the human species consciousness pool, can be passed by, because we don't need to redirect life experience or learn there anymore. The knowledge of ascension, that choice, can kick in from any energy level after death. You yourself have known about ascension for a long time. It's only in this one life that the yearning and the desire to ascend is greater than the attachment to the planet. Your attachment has been to the elements in the biosphere. Your attachment has to do with the other life forms. And you will spend a long time celebrating that out of body before you ascend. But you will not come back into the life, well, not 3D. You will not come into physical again on this plane. And so this life for you is both a celebration of the other species that you love so dearly, as well as the ultimate completion of your work. All your lives have been leading up to this one. So ascension is learned. Ascension isn't earned, but it is an option. It's a choice that has to be energized. And so for an individual to understand prayer and an orientation to unity in this life keeps reinforcing anyone's desire to ascend. Now, there are some people who spend quite a bit of time focusing their will toward attention. People who are exclusively in religious pursuit. But this may simply be the way they have chosen to do it, because it does take a certain detachment from the beauty of the earth and the allure of material goods and possessions. There's also a certain detachment from all that is, wait a minute, I'm losing my place here, guys, sorry. Oh, who aren't religious. They want to talk about people who aren't religious in a traditional way. Many times artists are very aware of their focus toward ascension. People we would not think of as being religious people. Musicians, through their work, can be energizing, their choice for ascension. But mostly we see this as a detachment in people from materialization and a refined appreciation of what is here on the planet. That combination is a big tell. So there are deeper levels of appreciation and at the same time, a lack of attachment for things. The focus for ascension is seen in an appreciation or pursuit of beauty, goodness, truth, and light. And in the less tangible realities. Someone who may seem very religious may just be working at understanding ascension and not necessarily have it yet. They may not get it yet or understand it. And that's what they're working for. We may see someone who is having a very saintly and giving life, but they may only be working at understanding ascension for themselves. They're not earning it. They may just be increasing the awareness or the orientation for ascension. So we can't assume where other people are at with this choice, because it is a choice and it's taken at a very personally gauged time. It is a self-motivated task, a self-generated task. There are people who come here in groups that have a group orientation. And this group can and does often include other species, animals, plant energy, fish energy. And these people may stall their actual ascension until they can be with these other life forms. And these others may not necessarily be people. They will wait at the threshold of choice or any of the other levels of the post-death energy experiences for their group to become complete. There may be ones in the group that have many lifetimes to go before ascension is known on a personal level. So there are many factors to the timing of the choice for the literal ascension, but ascension is a choice and is learned on a very deep and personal level. It is so individual and so within you. You might think that if you read it about it in a book, or like me, I made 9 novenas on the first Fridays. That was supposed to be a slam dunk in Catholicism to get into heaven. That you might make the choice to ascend. And it doesn't mean that someone who is hearing this video today would say, oh, I don't want to be in life anymore. I want to go back to God. Well, that isn't really enough. Ascension is learned on deeper levels than the conscious mind. You could say that ascension has to become a goal in every fiber of your being. You could use that phrase. The single-minded purposefulness for ascension is normally carried over many lifetimes. But you can alert people to ascension as a goal. And that might be very constructive here because with the loss of religious metaphors for so many in society, to introduce the idea of ascension as being real, a real choice for them, not having to do with the religious concept of heaven being earned, because ascension is learned. And to even introduce the idea of ascension in a secular, non-religious, strictly a personal spiritual choice may give your listeners a key that they are looking for in their life, a key for something to look for while they participate in life. Actually, ascension will be the goal for everybody at some point in their lives. Ascension is of necessity a choice, but not within any time frame that we could ever relate to with the human mind. Time is irrelevant to the complete process of a personality, to the evolution of a personality. Number of lifetimes is irrelevant to the process of our personality. So it's not important how many lives a person has. One life of quality and excellence with the prior knowledge of ascension may be all that any personality wishes to have. But this is an unusual path, but it is one that's available. And it's just as time consuming in our time reference to have one completely prepared lifetime to bring in that level of awareness would take eons and eons to accomplish. They mean out of physical. So time is irrelevant to the process. It's just that the orientation for ascension is in some people that you will meet. These people can also unlock and introduce the idea of ascension to others. And if that's the only reason that ascension should be included in your work, it's an introduction perhaps to people who are not aware of it consciously, of the idea that ultimately in energy, they will return to God. That is, unless great acts of evil are repetitively expressed lifetime after lifetime. And then ascension may not be a choice that they would even know of. Ascension is a great and glorious choice, but then so is being in life. It's sometimes hard to view life as such when we're in it. The actual ascension takes place from the threshold of choice. This is the transition point out of physical experience and the beginning of a very long and beautiful trip, which will actually merge the energy of the individual so completely with God's source energy that the individual and personality ceases to exist as anything separate from God. And so the religious metaphors are correct in this respect. The only misguided effort is that ascension cannot be earned. Ascension has to be learned of. And then the choices that are taken by an individual very deliberately to energize and enhance the idea of ascension for themselves. It's a very self-willed choice to turn away from life. Ascension doesn't happen to you. You direct your own ascension. So I'd love to hear what you think. And until I see you again, please be well and please be blessed. Thanks for coming.